Motives, welcome back to another episode of the Behind Your Motive podcast. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about the different types of education for you. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. This episode will be very polarizing for a lot of you. What I mean by that is I'll be sharing some of my personal opinions about both the self-education realm and the traditional education world. And I honestly have a preference, and that may not be for you, but what I want to say before I get started is you need to be able to understand who you are. You need to be able to understand your strengths and what you want for your future. For me, at a young age, I really wanted to educate myself on what I wanted to learn, which was outside of the traditional realm. My teachers, my students that I worked with, my friends growing up, they didn't like the things that I liked. So that's why I had to disassociate myself from that world and associate myself more with the self-education realm, right? So that's why I personally have a preference towards self-education, but I will not go and tell you that the traditional education system is bad. It's not bad. It has its strengths, but also it has its weaknesses, like anything. So I want to portray that to you today, and I want to make that clear to you. If you're someone that's looking outside of your current schooling system, if you're someone that's at university and wanting to adapt to a new lifestyle, this is the episode for you, because I'll be breaking down both of those education systems and helping you understand which one's which and which one's for you, okay? Obviously, I've been a part of both worlds, and like I said earlier, I started to educate myself at a young age, probably around 16, 17, while I was still in high school. In Australia, that's year 11, roughly around that time. I associated myself with all those books behind me, and I just went hard, right? I went ham to the bone, and I educated myself on what I wanted to learn. And those areas included business, entrepreneurship, finance, investing. All these different things allowed me to get ahead of the game kind of thing at an early age, but I wasn't doing it to compete with anyone. Like I said, no one around me enjoyed this type of stuff, so I knew that that wasn't for me, because at a very early age, I understood that the majority of people went down that road, and I didn't want to become the majority. I wanted to become an outlier. I didn't want to become another statistic. Does that make sense? And what I did was I bought courses. I created my Instagram page. Like you may have heard me on my story episode a few episodes back, I really went and became vulnerable with you guys and really helped you understand my story and how I became where I am today and how it can relate to you. At a young age, I'll just quickly recap, at a young age, we went to a school that wasn't very good. Probably the second worst school in the state at the time. And like, statistically speaking, I'm not supposed to be at this point. I'm supposed to be on alcohol and drugs, going to nightclubs, all that type of stuff, right? And this self-education really saved my life. And it wasn't until I actually started to have a new focus in mind, which was my Instagram page, that I started to put that life aside and focus on something new. And once I started to do that, once I started to have a new focus in mind, I got so much clearer on my goals. I got so much clearer on my future visions. I started to associate myself with mentors and coaches, and this year alone has been totally transformative for me. Even though the entire world is going through an epidemic right now, it's really allowed me to double down on myself and really understand who I am, right? So I want you guys to be able to understand that as well. Self-education can really help you transform your life. But backtracking a bit, right, towards the traditional education system, I used to do my work. I used to get good grades. But then got to a stage in my life where I began to surround myself with different types of people. People that achieved many higher things than I have, that I look up to. Those people have walked the path that I want to walk. And every single one of those people did not do it the traditional way, did not do it the formal way. They went outside the boundaries. They took risks at an early age. And what does that tell you? Success leaves clues. If you literally just don't know where to go, start studying the most successful people in the world and understand how they did it. That's what I did at an early age. I read into Steve Jobs, I read into Mark Cuban, I read into Tony Robbins and their origin stories, and understood that if they came from absolute shit and became who they are today, anyone can do it, right? They're not wired differently, they're not some alien or some crap on the another side of the freaking universe. They're all humans, and we all are wired the same. It's just a matter of how much you want it, how much commitment you're willing to put into something, how much hunger, and how much, just really, it comes down to how much hunger you have towards it, right? And at an early age, I was hungry. I knew that I could take risks at an early age, right? And in my opinion, if you haven't already noticed, self-education is the only education that matters. That's in my opinion. Yes, there's strengths and weaknesses and everything that you look at, but formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And that is one of the best quotes I've ever heard. Let me say that again. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Just think about that for a second. If that is what you want in your life, if you want to become wealthy, successful, fortunate, I'm not saying that money is the be all and end all, right? Money allows you to do other things as well. Think about it like that. It allows you to have freedom. It allows you to pay medical bills when they pop up out of nowhere. It allows you to go and buy a new laptop when 3, 4, 5 years ago you second guessed it because you were tight on cash, right? It's powerful. It's powerful, and there's nothing stopping people from going out and doing that in the traditional education system. It's just that I do not like how it's structured. I do not like how you're running a rat race and you're trying to fight your way up to the very top. Yes, in business, in entrepreneurship, you're trying to fight your way up to the top, but it's different, right? It's self-education is on your own terms. You're your own boss. You set your own hours. You do the work. And all of the work that you put in goes towards yourself, right? It's self-education. You're investing into yourself. That's why I tell people who are young, right? Don't go and invest into stocks. Don't go and invest all your money into the stock market, into businesses, because you're young. This is the time when you need to focus on yourself, on your well-being, on your health, on your fitness, on your education. And this is the time where you need to invest all your money into yourself. Because like Tom Bilyeu says, knowledge compounds. Knowledge compounds, guys and girls. It is crazy that not a lot of people at a young age invest into themselves, right? Now, I want to be able to break this up for you. I want to be able to break up formal education and self-education. And the first point I have in the formal education, I'm reading my dot points on my computer screen right now, is the formal education gives you the fundamentals for doing a job very successfully, right? You're doing it well. And if you want to have a job, that is totally fine. Our society would not function with entrepreneurs and business owners all the time. We need firemen, we need policemen, we need hairdressers, we need retail people, right? We need that stuff. And in saying that, if you do go down that road, understand that you have to be able to love anything and everything you do in some way or shape or form. Now let me say that again. You have to be able to love anything you do. You have to be able to find love in anything you do. You may hate that job. I've worked many jobs where I've hated it sometimes, right? But you won't be able to succeed. That's a fixed mindset where you're like, I hate this job. I need to leave. I hate it. No, I'm not learning anything from this. But just take a step back. Take a step back and understand, what can I get out of this position? Even though my manager's a piece of shit, even though the people that I work with are so annoying that they do not do their jobs and they're total hypocrites, even though the customers are total dickheads and do not care about your well-being, what can I get out of this job? What can I learn out of this? Right? I've been in retail. I got out of retail this year. I've been in retail for 3+ years. And there were many times where I hated it. There were many times where I hated it, but I tried to learn as much as I can. I always put my hand up for new positions available. I became the manager when I was 19. I ran that store when I was 19. So I took initiative. Man, I was staying back till 11 p.m, 12 midnight sometimes, doing my job and getting paid absolute dirt, right? And that's the key distinction. And that's where my mind trickles over, and it may relate to you. If you stayed this far down, I really applaud you. My mind ticks by saying, okay, if I'm going to put this work in, why the hell am I doing it for someone else? Why the hell am I doing it for another corporation? And yes, I learnt a lot of stuff, but I'd rather do it for my self-education, for my own business, for my own dreams and my own visions, right? And that is not selfish. It may sound very selfish, but it's not selfish, it's selfless, because you're putting yourself first. Believe that, guys. You're putting yourself and your own health and well-being and happiness first. If you're not happy in that position, don't just automatically say, no, I hate it. First, learn as much as you can from that position. But secondly, do everything you can to be able to get yourself out of that position and into something like a business, like entrepreneurship, like your dreams. Okay, I've been on a bit of a rant for that one, but I hope that makes sense to you. Secondly, the things you learn in formal education, the things you learn in traditional education, they're not practical. What I mean by that is most of the things you learn are theoretical. They're based on memory, they're based on understanding, and that is a very big strength. You need to be able to understand things. And that trickles over into self-education, that trickles over into other avenues in your life moving forward. But what I prefer, and I'm speaking personally right now, what I prefer is practical education, hands-on, getting my hands dirty and doing the hard yards. At the start, that's the way I learn. I didn't have a very good memory, and I still do not have a very good memory. And you ask a lot of high school kids, you ask a lot of university graduates, and unfortunately, a lot of the time, they do not like what they study. So what that comes down to is memory. Yeah, I need to do good in this exam, so I have to memorize it. I don't understand it, but I just have to memorize it. That's what happens, right? That's what happens on a daily basis at university, at school. You may get fortunate enough where you have a particular subject in high school where you absolutely love it, right? And that was with me. Back in year 11, I did year 12 chemistry. I did advanced chemistry, and I was one of the top students in that class because I actually loved it. Even though we had the complete shithead of a freaking teacher who totally ruined that year for us, I still enjoyed it because that's what I like to do. But it's not hands-on practical stuff that you can apply to the real world, and that's the key distinction again, is that formal education does not teach you how to transition into a life of your own terms. It teaches you how you can fit in to the rat race and get a job and do this and that. I'm going to move on. Now, secondly and thirdly, there's a specific way of living outside of the traditional system. In Australia, we have the ATAR system. And I'm sure it's the same all over the world, but you complete your end of year exams in your final year of high school and you get this score. I remember being told from one of my teachers in my final year of school that if you do not get a good job, you will fail in life. The important thing to remember here is this is a teacher that I looked up to. This is a teacher that the whole cohort looked up to. And he just got on and told us that if we don't get a good score, we will be failures. How do you think that makes a vulnerable, weak student feel? I was very lucky. In my final year, I didn't care how I performed in my exams because I knew that I was aiming for something greater. I was aiming to live life on my own terms anyway, so that score was not going to matter on how well I performed in real life. But that's because I had my head on my shoulders. Imagine if I didn't. Imagine if I was weak. Imagine if I had no vision for my future. Imagine if I only had reliance on the education system. And imagine if I had a learning disability. Imagine if I couldn't retain information and it took me 5 times the amount of time than it did old Johnny boy over there. Imagine. And my teacher, the person that I just looked up to for all my high school years, just gone and told us that if you don't get a good score, you'll become a failure in life. Imagine the pressure that puts on a student. And there is so much wrong about what that happened, and for some reason it stuck with me. And not because I got affected by it. I'm living life on my own terms right now. But it affects me because I can see how much people care about the score, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? It also affects me because it's not true. It's seriously not true. Go and look at all the successful people in life. Do you think they remember their ATAR score? Yeah, they remember it, but look at them now. Even if they do remember it, that has not stopped them to become successful in life. And I can go and ramble on about many examples about Mark Zuckerberg, how he dropped out of school and everything like that, but I'm not going to. You've already heard all that. But I just wanted to share that story with you because of how impactful it can be for some people, and I'm sure you've heard the same as well. I'm sure you've heard once or twice in your career in high school and university that a teacher that you look up to, or a teacher in general, just told you that, and it may have gutted you. You may have added just a totally new level of pressure, but I want you to understand that that's not the be-all and end-all, especially in high school. Especially in high school. University, that's different. University, you are going towards something specific that you've had your eyes on since high school, and it's most likely going to be your passion. It's most likely something that you love to do and you want to learn more about, and that's totally okay, right? But in high school, that score does not matter at all. Especially in Australia. If you're listening to this in Australia, I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but if you're listening to this in Australia, there are so many pathways to that ideal course that you want to get into. And again, like I said at the start of this video, I am not dissing the education system. I just don't prefer it. I don't like it. And I see the advantages for a lot of people out there. My best mate, he's doing a psychology degree because at an early age, he's always loved the mind. He wants to study the mind, and he needs to be able to do a university degree to get there. Whereas I look at that, I'm like, what a waste. I'd rather spend that 4 or 5 years, that $100,000 on something that I'm doing. Totally different worlds. And again, like I said at the start of the video, you have to understand who you are. You have to understand how you tick, what you want in your future, what you want as visions for your future. 2 more points and I'm going to wrap up this video. What I learned with the self-education system. I've retained all the info I learnt with self-education because mainly it's towards something I wanted to learn. And even though you can do whatever you like during school and during university, school and university doesn't stop you from going out and reading your own book, right? It's just that those platforms don't allow you to learn whatever you like within them. So you're not going to get scored based on how much you know about running a business. You're not gonna get, it doesn't work like that, right? It's very structured, it's very systematical, and you need to be able to know what the root of freaking pi is, or whatever the hell it is, right? For that specific question. And the way I like to see it is you're pretty much judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree. The education system judges a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Just think of that, right? Imagine if you went and gone and asked a fish to go and climb that damn 10-foot tall tree. How would he feel? How would she feel? Whatever the hell the fish is, right? How would that fish feel? That's exactly what's happening in the education system, because it's not tailored for our own success. It's not tailored towards our own strengths and weaknesses. And that's the biggest problem within it. I'm sure you already know that, but I just want to make that clear. Secondly, the self-education system is a totally different way of thinking, in my opinion, and it is the biggest reason why people succeed in life. This is due to the fact that people who are willing to educate themselves have that drive and hunger to succeed. You're not going to go out of your way to educate yourself with entrepreneurship if you didn't have that drive and hunger. You're living life on your own terms. Would you prefer to open up Netflix, which is the easy route, or would you prefer to open up a textbook and learn about entrepreneurship? What's the difference, right? It's that drive. It's that hunger to do whatever's necessary to get to the point. Within the education system, yes, you need that hunger, you need that drive, but you're within a structure, especially in high school, right? You get up at 9, you have to go to school or else you fail, right? These are the things, and definitely you can take those disciplines and apply them to your own life if you just choose to go down the self-education route. That's what I've done a lot. I've looked back, it just started raining outside. God, that scared the crap out of me. I've gone and taken the principles I've learnt from high school and applied them to my own life, because I understand how much structure has to do with it, how much a routine, how much habits and rituals have to do with your success. That's another positive I've taken out of the high school system. But I want to wrap up and say that unfortunately, a lot of the time, young adults get trapped in the system and they do not even want to learn what they're learning. And it's all due to the fact that they've been pushed into that position by people they look up to, by their family members, by their peers. And I'm not saying that every single time that happens, but a lot of the time I see people that just dread going to university, but they still do it anyway. Because unfortunately they know that that's the only way to go. And that's again how they've been brought up. They know that you go get a good score in high school and you have to go to university to get a good degree, get a good job, stable job, and work your way up the corporate ladder to eventually retire one day. That's the way of living that has been told to us ever since an early age. But self-education, the importance of that, the importance of an understanding of how that is a totally different world, does not get told to us. It does not get taught to us at an early age about managing your finances. It does not get taught to us at an early age about how to run your own business, about how to become an entrepreneur, because the education system raises workers. The self-education system raises innovators. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Thank you so much for getting to the end. If you have, I will see you another day when I upload a new episode. It's all about this type of stuff, right? It's all about mindset for young adults such as yourself to get you to that next level and to pursue your dreams. Have a great day, guys. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.